Now at 9, more snow for the 4 states. Doug has the latest amounts and what to expect.
The Carthage Humane Society terminates its contract with the city. I'm Samantha Walker, and coming up, I'll have the details on what the future of the shelter looks like.
Hundreds of people coming together to honor the late President Jimmy Carter at his state funeral in Washington. I'm Caroline Elliott in Plains, Georgia, with the latest on that story coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Snow is falling across the 4 states, blanketing roads and sometimes over a sheet of ice. It created a challenging situation for drivers navigating their evening commute today. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach, and let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty, who's been tracking the system from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Yeah, the amounts coming in, kind of a wide range across the region. It's because we've been having bands of moderate, sometimes heavy snow. So one area may get a quick ½ an inch where just a few miles away you didn't really get anything. So the amounts are all over the place, but most of us on average anywhere from a ½ an inch upwards to 2 inches has already fallen. In the purple, this is a winter weather advisory. In the pink, winter storm warning along the south of the I-44 corridor. It's been a little choppy on the Kansas side. You can see these bands that I'm talking about. See these darker bands? So if you're underneath one of those bands, you'll get a quick ½ an inch of snow. More persistent snow along the I-44 corridor, and you can see a bigger batch pushing out of Oklahoma right into the metro. So over the next few hours, our snow is really going to start to pick up. It's always going to stay light, but it's going to get moving. Again, north of Parsons, choppy. So you got these bands, more persistent along and south of the I-44 corridor. All right, snowfall so far, so under 2 inches is all this out here. When you get into here, we're getting areas at 2 inches and then pushing 4 when you get into that darker blue down toward Tulsa. So most of us, ½ an inch to about 1.5 inches right now. Bands of snow continue to work in, heaviest along and south of I-44. This we're going to stop at 1:30 in the morning. You can still see the darker blues along that I-44 corridor, much lighter and choppy once you get out across southeastern Kansas. Bands, moderate snow continue. Here's 4 o'clock in the morning, choppier snow, Kansas side. And then we switch over to snow showers once we get into the morning hours. Upper 20s, so everything sticks on the road. Snow showers kind of stick around through really late morning, and then everything will totally cut off. How much snow are we going to get? So our northern counties, 1, 2, 3. I have most of us in 3 to 6. That does not mean you're going to get 6 inches of snow. Doesn't mean you're going to get 5 or 4. It means I'm pretty sure we're going to get 3. Most of us 3 to 4. But with some of those heavier bands, there's going to be spikes of 5 or 6, 5 to 7 in our southern counties. So a lot to talk about. We'll break it all down for you here in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Doug. Well, you can get the latest road conditions and power outages across the area anytime through this QR code. It'll direct you to links on our website for information for each state in our viewing area. Now, one person has died following a house fire in Pittsburgh early this morning. Crews responded to the fire at 125 West 21st Street. Authorities say one individual safely evacuated and was later taken to the hospital. Crews carried the other person out and attempted to resuscitate that individual, but were unsuccessful. The Carthage Humane Society informed the city of Carthage this week it is terminating its contract with the city. This cuts off city funding to the shelter and means the city cannot surrender animals to the Humane Society without paying a hefty fee. KOAM's Samantha Walker has the details on what led to this decision.
The contract termination comes after months-long discussions regarding funding concerns and the number of animals being turned in to the Carthage Humane Society.
When the city brings us 90% of the animals we have and they pay less than 10% of our costs, it doesn't balance out.
According to the Humane Society, in 2024, the city of Carthage paid them roughly $49,000, while the shelter's operating costs exceeded $570,000. According to the mayor of Carthage, Alan Snow, the termination of the contract was unexpected, given that the city and the Humane Society had held several meetings discussing the possibility of increasing their funding.
The last meeting that we had, I asked them to let us know when they make that decision, if they're going to continue operating or not. and I hadn't heard anything back, and then we got the letter on Tuesday.
But Minshew says the last meeting didn't take place as planned when certain city staff members didn't attend. She was told that she would be called to reschedule the meeting.
No one ever contacted us, which was kind of the thing that showed us that the city didn't really care about getting anything straightened out with the Humane Society.
Mayor Snow says the city has been honoring their part of the contract, despite the fact the Humane Society stopped welcoming intakes in October. Shelter staff say this was because they were so overwhelmed with animals, and funding to support their operations became even more necessary.
We were requesting $100,000, which would be basically double what they were paying.
They need to make the decision if they're going to continue operating. And if they are, then we can discuss a contract, but we need to have some assurance of sustainability.
The mayor of Carthage and the Carthage Humane Society say they'd be willing to come back to the table for further contract negotiations. In the meantime, the Humane Society is looking at funding options to keep open, such as fundraisers, donations, and grants. But Minshew says she believes the shelter will be far more manageable now that the city will no longer be bringing so many animals, making it less likely the shelter would have to close.
It's not to make a profit. It's not to, punish the city. It's none of those things. That's not what we want. We just want to be able to take care of the animals.
Reporting in Carthage, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Now, anyone surrendering animals to the Carthage Humane Society will now be charged a fee, and that includes the city of Carthage. For now, the mayor says the city has not been picking up as many lost or stray animals. The city of Joplin answers questions about the relaunch of the Sunshine Lamp Trolley. The service was originally halted in 2022 due to a lack of bus drivers. Now, the new buses are smaller and will seat between 12 to 14 people. The bus will make the same stops as before and will run from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. Service is expected to begin in February. The Missouri Southern Board of Governors green lights a significant investment in the future of the university's sports and events facilities. As KOAM's Lonnie Walton reports, funding is now approved for an overhaul of the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center.
We're excited about it.
Brian Shedding has been a coach at Missouri Southern for 16 years. And of course, he, along with his students and fellow co-workers, will leave several memories.
And certainly we have a lot of memories of this place, and I think a lot of our alumni have a strong bond to the big track meets we used to host, or the big basketball games or championships won in this building.
Big Championships is right for this 25-year-old building, hosting over 600 banquets, commencement ceremonies, career fairs, and sports. It has even been a refuge for the 2011 Joplin tornado victims. But according to Shedding, not much has changed.
Realistically, it's a worn building, right? It's 25 years old. These are the original surfaces.
Athletic Director Rob Mowry, along with Shedding, says it's time for a change.
Again, at 25 years old, it was just time. It's time for the building to get those updates, and I'm hopeful that maybe we can modernize and brighten the facility a little bit.
It's at the point where the maintenance needs to be done.
Phase 1 will consist of new bleachers, an indoor track, and a basketball court. Leaders hope this gym will continue to serve the community for the next 25 years.
Nice surface, safe surface for our kids to train on. It'll be, back to what it was when they built Leggett and Platt.
Reporting in Joplin, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
Phase 1 of renovations starts this summer. Joplin Schools Board of Education announces its approval for the first phase of upcoming projects. These projects are geared toward everything from addressing educational suitability, intensive programs, and early childhood expansion. Phase 1 funding to focus on these projects would total of $9.5 million to be funded by capital outlay reserves. The committee plans to present their final longer-term recommendations to the board in June of 2025. Well, coming up, trusting AI.
The FDA wants you to trust the AI pharmacy. I'm Eben Brown in Miami. I'll have that story straight ahead.
And later, 'tis the season for ice melt chemicals, but do they come with hidden dangers? We'll find out. The FDA releases the first ever guidance on how drug makers can use AI, trying to establish trust as the pharmaceutical industry increasingly turns to computers to make our medicine. Fox's Eben Brown reports.
Artificial intelligence is growing more pervasive, leaving Congress and federal agencies scrambling to safely integrate the technology into American life. Now the FDA is releasing its first ever draft guidance for using AI while developing drugs and medical devices. Focusing on what the FDA says is credibility, the regulators are recognizing that AI is here to stay and that virtually every pharmaceutical company will be using it. But there needs to be a way of verifying the systems, establishing a trust in letting computers make our medicine. The agency is proposing new protocols requiring drug makers to disclose exactly how they used artificial intelligence to develop products, with the regulators verifying the data provided by the AI is accurate. FDA Chief Dr. Robert Califf says the new proposal supports drug development while also guaranteeing patient safety. But will the impact be felt? The FDA has been reviewing drugs created with AI since 2016. Most experts agree AI development will ramp up this year, but the practical real-world applications haven't yet trickled down from the lab to the drugstore, so those looking for a major game changer will have to be patient.
This year, AI is going to just show you how they can continue to make our lives easier and better, but consumers are not going to see a major change in their lifestyles just yet.
The FDA will issue its final rule after a 90-day period when the public can weigh in and say how much AI is too much. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Well, Doug is next with a complete look at your forecast, and later, fierce wildfires burning out of control in Los Angeles force tens of thousands from their homes.
Think your chili's the best?
By the Center for the Arts.
Hey guys, of course, it's been snowy over the past several hours. Light snow has been working through. Great shot. This is our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex tower cam, and this is at 7th and Joplin Street. We're looking northeast, but you can see the snow. Roads are covered. They are slick, so stay off them if you don't have to go out. Wide range of amounts, anywhere from, well, I just saw in Cassville has about 1/4 of an inch, and then some areas have 2 inches of snow. So it just depends where those bands are setting up. Heaviest snow tonight is going to be along I-44 and south. That's where the heaviest bands will be. Lighter snow in the purple, that's where your winter weather advisory is going to be. Let's go right now. You can see the heavier bands right along the I-44 corridor. We've had a little bit of dry air kind of shifting in, not a dry slot, just dry pockets of air on the Kansas side. But these bands, so some of these bands are dropping a quick 1/2 inch, and then somebody else you're just getting flurries. So it's very scattered amounts, a little bit more persistent once you get into southern Missouri, and then a bigger band. You can see the darker blues pushing up toward Grand Lake, and we'll go right into Joplin as we go through the next hour or so. So light snow where you see the darker blues, pockets of moderate snow. We can widen the vantage point here, and you can see this back band here. So this on the back side of a front. We'll kind of fill all this in and then just kind of slowly march east. But that heavier snow along that I-44 corridor and south. And look how far south this goes. Even Dallas has been dealing with snow throughout the daytime hours for us today. All right, let's go through time. Light to moderate snow continues through the night. So this is along the I-44 corridor, the heaviest. After 4 a.m., we kind of switch to very light snow and then snow showers on the Kansas side. And then through the morning, just light snow showers here, 7 a.m. We'll continue to go to 10 a.m., light snow showers, and then exiting out of here as we get into the afternoon. High temps right around freezing. Snowfall, northern counties. I do know parts of Wichita's already gotten 4 or 5 inches in some of those heavier bands, but our region, mainly 1 to 2 inches, isolated 3. Most of us 3 or 4 inches, isolated 5 or 6. Southern counties, mostly 5 or 6 inches with isolated 7-inch amounts across the region. All right, 32 tomorrow, 37 Saturday, 38. A few flurries on Sunday, back down Monday, and then 50s finally late next week.
I know it makes the roads dangerous to drive on, but that snow this afternoon, so pretty.
It is pretty. It's very pretty.
All right, thanks, Doug. Well, many people use ice melt to help clear their outdoor walkways, but as Nicolette Zangara explains, those chemicals could do some damage as well.
While ice melting salt gets rid of the ice, it can also rid your plants of their health.
It can have impacts on your plants, and since we all like our trees and plants, you don't want to do anything to hurt them. Same time, you don't want to do anything that'll make you slip and fall on the ice either.
The impact might not be noticeable until the next growing season. Symptoms include discoloration, lack of foliage, or stunted growth. However, the Missouri Department of Conservation says you can practice safety for yourself and your green space by using ice melting salt sparingly.
A little bit of ice melt or rock salt, whatever you use, goes a long way. If you put a lot of it down, it's kind of a bad thing in two counts. Number one, you are causing some environmental damage, but number two, you're also hurting your budget. Obviously, the more you put down, the less you'll have for the next ice episode.
Eco-friendly ice melting salt can be found at the store, but here's another option that doesn't hurt nearby plants. Kitty litter or sand will provide enough traction on an icy surface to safely walk across, but it won't melt the ice itself.
And make sure the ice melting salt is made for the surface you're treating. If it's not, Jeff Dodson with Northwood Public Schools says it's not a pretty sight.
We used a particular ice melt that was supposed to be okay for concrete use. It didn't create issues throughout the entire pour or the entire pad itself, but where the water tended to congregate or where it would pool, we had some issues where the thin layer at the top of the concrete popped or came off, and it certainly aesthetically is not as nice as it was when the project was completed.
Well, if you notice your plants showing symptoms of contamination, you may have to apply gypsum to save them. Well, coming up, a burning insurance crisis.
The California wildfires putting the state's insurance crisis under a microscope. I'm Jerry Willis with Fox Business. The details ahead.
Join us for comics, cosplay, and fun at Art.
More than 180,000 people are under evacuation orders as 5 fires continue to burn across Los Angeles. Entire neighborhoods are reduced to ash. Thousands of firefighters on the ground are working to contain the firestorm. The 100-mile-per-hour winds that fueled the flames earlier this week have calmed for now, but are expected to return in the coming days. One of California's biggest insurers canceled homeowners' policies in the area seeing the worst destruction. Fox Business correspondent Jerry Willis reports.
The tragedy of the California wildfires is setting in motion an insurance crisis after major insurers left the market last year. California's largest insurer, State Farm, canceled 72,000 policies last February, 30,000 of which were homeowner policies. And now the state's insurer of last resort, called the FAIR Plan, will likely be overwhelmed by billions in claims it will receive over the coming days and weeks. The 90272 zip code of Pacific Palisades experienced 1,930 policy cancellations between 2019 and 2024. That's 28 out of every 100 policies. That according to the San Francisco Chronicle. This is leaving many Californians without home insurance. Listen.
They think that they have valued their home at a certain amount, and they find out later that their insurance carrier was just using some algorithm that had nothing to do with the actual replacement cost of their home. And then also just this massive level of devastation.
As a result, homeowners have had to turn to the state's FAIR program, an insurance pool. The Pacific Palisades is the 5th largest user of FAIR policies in the state, with nearly $6 billion in exposure. But the FAIR program has only $700 million on hand to pay claims. Insiders have known about challenges to the state pool for years, one calling FAIR a ticking time bomb. Some context from Realtor.com, which is owned by our parent company. Just 5.5% of homes in the U.S. face the risk of wildfire damage, but 39.1% of them are in California, and L.A. is the riskiest city. And California policyholders, even those not in an affected area, should keep an eye out for higher assessments as a result of the unprecedented destruction in L.A. In New York, Jerry Willis, Fox Business.
Well, film buffs roll into the Route 66 movie theater for an inspiring 3-day uplifting festival. That story next.
Scott with Windows.
Two board members of the Great Wonder Productions are busy checking in filmmakers for the Great Wonders Uplift Film Fest. The festival kicked off today at the Route 66 movie theater in Webb City. The films featured at the festival were created by filmmakers in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. More than 25 films will be featured over the course of the three-day festival. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Plunging temperatures. The winter storm settling over Texas is expected to dump snow and ice over a large swath of the South. Plus, hundreds of people come together to honor the late President Jimmy Carter at his state funeral in Washington.
The dealers.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. There's no end in sight to the frigid temperatures hitting much of the U.S. and in the South, but it's about to get worse with snow and ice and freezing rain in the forecast. Fox News correspondent Oliviana Calmes has more from Arlington, Texas.
Gotta get groceries. Gotta stock up. And she's not alone. Folks from the Midwest to the deep South are still shivering as the polar vortex sends temperatures plunging yet again. And it's about to get even worse. The new winter storm system settled over Texas is expected to drop plenty of snow and ice over a large area of the South through Friday night, leaving people scrambling to stock up on essentials to ride out the storm.
I just got like some comfort food, some things that I can cook in a crock pot that are like warm and, homey.
Road crews are already hard at work pre-treating the highways with salt and brine to stay ahead of the ice, but it won't be easy. Most of these areas aren't used to dealing with sub-zero temperatures and icy roads, and officials are urging folks to stay at home if they can and use extreme caution if they have to drive.
We're not used to driving in conditions like this. Be careful, be cautious, make sure that you're protecting your own life. If you do get out on the road, drive safely.
This is a different system from the one that dumped snow throughout the eastern U.S. last week. It forced the cancellation of hundreds of flights, and now airports throughout the South are trying to avoid a repeat and keep things moving smoothly.
We have been working around the clock. We have crews coming in, staying overnight actually, in anticipation of what Mother Nature sends our way.
Parts of northern Texas have already reported up to 3 inches of snow, and forecasters say it could get up to 7 inches by Sunday. In Arlington, Texas, Oliviana Calmes, Fox News.
Well, tentative agreement ends threats of a potential port strike. The International Longshoremen's Association Union and the U.S. Maritime Alliance of Ports say both sides agreed to a deal for a new 6-year contract before next week's deadline, though the two sides say details will not be released until members review and approve the agreement. The nation's capital came together today for a final farewell to former President Jimmy Carter. Fox News correspondent Caroline Elliott has more from Plains, Georgia.
Former President Jimmy Carter was born here in Plains, Georgia, and spent almost his entire life here. And tonight, this is where he will be laid to rest. But before that, he was honored at the National Cathedral. Spectators lined up early and braved the cold to say goodbye to America's 39th president. Carter, a former naval officer, engineer, and peanut farmer, died at the age of 100 after 22 months in hospice care. Thursday, he was honored with a state funeral at the National Cathedral, where family, friends, and several high-profile guests, including every living former president, came together to pay their respects.
I miss him, but I take solace in knowing that he and his beloved Rosalind are reunited again.
President Joe Biden delivered the eulogy and remembered him as a humble man of deep faith. Colleagues and family also honored Carter's legacy of selfless leadership and service.
President Carter parked politics at the Oval Office door to do what he believed was the right thing.
2 posthumous eulogies were also delivered. The sons of Carter's late Vice President Walter Mondale and his White House predecessor Gerald Ford, both reading speeches their fathers wrote before they died.
Jimmy Carter and I were rivals, but for the many wonderful years that followed, friendship bonded us.
After the funeral, President Carter was honored here at the Baptist Church, where he taught Sunday school ever since leaving the White House in 1981. In Plains, Georgia, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
Well, Doug is next with a complete look at your forecast, and later opponents to Venezuela's soon-to-be president lobby the U.S. to step in, saying they're opposed to make Venezuela one of the strongest U.S. allies in the region.
It's the first day of school.
For the arts.
Well, of course, we have a light to moderate snow across the region. Some areas, it's really coming down, starting to pile up. We have a moderate band moving right through Joplin right now, so you can see this on our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex tower cam really coming down. So in these heavier bands, you can pick up a quick ½ to an inch as these heavier bands continue to work through. We are just now entering the stage that we are going to hit our peak snow rate. So really from now until about 3 o'clock in the morning is going to be our heaviest snow that we see. So if you want more snow, you got definitely more snow, which is coming. All right, lesser amounts on the Kansas side in the purple. So Chanute, Fort Scott, Nevada, Parsons, Independence, Pittsburgh, winter weather advisory, winter storm warning from Joplin south with those heavier amounts of snow. So here's that band moving right through Joplin right now. So you have those darker blues, and look how it's really increasing northeastern Oklahoma. So this is going to be moderate snow along the I-44 corridor over the next several hours. A little choppier once you get out across Kansas, so amounts are a little lower, but still getting some heavy amounts. There's already been about 5 to 7 inches out toward Wichita, which a little bit of a surprise. There was a pretty heavy band that set up right on top of them. So we have light to moderate snow. Southwestern Missouri, a little bit lighter once you get down southern parts of Berry County. And then as we look from Bentonville, we can go up toward Joplin, then right back through northeastern parts of Oklahoma, we have that band of snow across the region. This extends way south. Look at this, all the way down toward Dallas. And this whole storm system is wrapping up and heading away from us. Let's go through time the rest of tonight. Light to moderate snow, heaviest long and south of I-44. So we're kind of in our peak time to get our snow. Here's 4 a.m. Heaviest snow is now pushing out, and we switch over to light snow showers. As we go through the morning hours, here's 10 a.m. and then pretty much gone once we get into the afternoon. All right, northwestern counties, solid 1 to 2 inches, isolated 3. Most of us here are in this blue. 3 to 4 inches, isolated 5 or 6 in some of those heavier bands. Southern counties, 5 to 6 inches, isolated 7-inch amount. So a pretty good amount of snow. Yes, there's going to be a lot of schools closed tomorrow. Yes, a lot have already closed. If you don't have to be on the roads, don't do it. 32 tomorrow, 37 Saturday, 38 Sunday. Stays cold through the middle of next week. 50s late next week. We got to get on those roads, don't we?
Yes, we do. Here pretty soon.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Thank you for clearing my windshield.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. All right, thanks, Doug. Coming up in sports, local high school basketball team competes at the Kaminsky Classic. Plus, a couple of softball players from Pittsburgh High School are officially signed up to play in college. Brock Baldridge has that story and more up next.
Fund USA. The opening round of the 2025 Kaminsky Classic begins today. A handful of local boys basketball teams compete in this year's tournament, and they get a shot to play competition from all around the state of Missouri. Joplin is the host of the annual Kaminsky basketball tournament. Eagles face William Chrisman in front of the entire school this afternoon. First quarter here, Collis Jones goes in for the easy layup to give Joplin the lead. A few minutes later, Fred Taylor misses the three-point shot right here, but Collis Jones is there for the rebound, turns around, goes up and under with a little kiss off the glass. Nice play there. Eagles lead by 5. We continue on into the first quarter. Brecken Green gets the running floater on the baseline here for 2 points. Count that bucket. Plus, next possession here for Joplin. Brecken Green fires away from beyond the arc, and that's nothing but net. That cuts the William Chrisman lead down to 1. In the closing seconds of the first quarter, Cooper Williams comes across the court, gets the steal, outlet pass to Fred Taylor, and he's clear for liftoff. That one-handed slam fires up the crowd. Joplin goes on to defeat William Chrisman 66-56. Over to game 2 of the Joplin Kaminsky Classic. Webb City Cardinals are playing the Poplar Bluff Mules in the first round. In the first half, all defense here, but Eli Pace gets the Cardinals rolling, and he drains a 3 right there. We're tied at 12. Later on in the game, Webb starting to get in the rhythm right here. Trey Turner blocks the two-point jumper, and then on the same possession, Eli Pace finds Turner open, and he finished what he started. That's good for 3. Turner finished the night with 11 points. Webb City leads by 8 at halftime, but the Mules not backing down. J.R. Lathan lobs up to Markel Hurd, and Poplar Bluff is back in it. This game is now tied with 12 seconds left. Mules have the ball. Brendan Durden gets fouled, and the basket is good with 5 seconds left in the game. Webb City's unable to hold on to their lead. They fall to Poplar Bluff 50-48 in the first round. In the late game tonight, Carl Junction faces Life Prep Academy out of Kansas City. Life Prep goes on to win this one big. The Fire beat the Bulldogs 78-64. CJ will face Francis Howell tomorrow afternoon in the consolation bracket. Another round of signing days rolled through Southeast Kansas. Pittsburgh High School had a couple of members from the softball team who are ready to take their talents to the collegiate level. Megan Johnston, along with her teammate, that would be Gabby White, key members of the Pittsburgh High School softball team there, each individual making their college decision official this afternoon. Megan is on her way to play Division I at UMKC. Meanwhile, Gabby's going to play in the NAIA for Missouri Valley University.
You take the chance and you email those coaches, and I was lucky enough to get an email back from Missouri Valley, and I went up there for a visit, and they offered me, and the rest is kind of history. I kind of just thought UMKC felt like home. It had a lot of the things that I wanted. It aligned with a lot of my goals. The location's good. I feel like it's close enough to home where my parents can come see me, but also far enough away where I'm kind of out of here.
Pitt State women's basketball is a perfect 5-0 to begin conference play. The Gorillas have won their last 4 games, and they aim to continue their winning streak tonight in Wichita. Pitt State faces the Newman Jets tonight. Gorillas handle business from start to finish. PSU beats Newman 77-50. Savannah Campbell came off the bench to score 18 points for Pitt State. Meanwhile, her teammates Harper Schreiner and Corinna Gerber each scored in double figures. Over to the men's game. Pitt State will try to bounce back from a 1-point loss that the team endured last Tuesday to Missouri Southern. Gorillas beat Newman 86-76. Pitt State will return home next Wednesday to face Rogers State. Well, that's your look for sports. We're back with more news right after this.
Protesters in Venezuela took to the streets of Caracas today, one day before Nicolas Maduro is set to be sworn in for a third presidential term after a widely disputed election, one that critics say he stole. In an exclusive interview, Jennifer Griffin talks to the leader of the opposition party.
After meeting President Biden at the White House Monday, Edmundo Gonzalez, the man who won Venezuela's presidential election in July, traveled to Argentina and then Panama with the ballots to prove that he, not Nicolas Maduro, is Venezuela's democratically elected leader. Maduro's inauguration is Friday.
Venezuela is the most important conflict in the Western Hemisphere for national security of the U.S. We also are desperate to solve the migration problem in our region. We want those Venezuelans to come back in millions and voluntarily, and that will happen when they'll see there's a future in their country.
Fox News spoke with Maria Machado, the top leader of Venezuela's opposition. She is currently in hiding and had the following message for President-elect Trump.
Venezuela has a huge energy potential. We're going to turn Venezuela from the criminal hub of the Americas into the energy hub of the Americas.
Machado has called for all Venezuelans to take to the streets Thursday to peacefully demand that Maduro not be sworn in.
Solving this conflict in Venezuela, I believe, on what happens in the next days in Venezuela depends not only the democracy, the future of our democracy, but the future of democracy in the region.
Machado said the fall of the Assad regime in Syria is a cautionary tale for those in the military and judiciary who still support Maduro.
Maduro has lost everything but fear and repression. What has he left? Russia? Iran? Hezbollah?
The Maduro regime arrested 2 Americans a day after President-elect Gonzalez met with President Biden. The State Department demanded the Americans' immediate release. At the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
British pop star Robbie Williams reflects on the decision to portray himself as a CGI monkey in his new biopic, Better Man. That's coming up. One of Britain's most celebrated music artists shares his life story with an unexpected twist in the new biopic, Better Man. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with the story.
What's with the monkey?
Robbie Williams takes on a new shape to tell his life story. The British pop star is portrayed as a CGI monkey in the Michael Gracey-directed musical biopic Better Man.
It didn't exceed my expectations because Michael sold it so well. It was just like, yeah, it's magical. That's exactly what you said it would be.
Gracey says the film gives an honest and raw look at the challenges Williams faced reaching stardom.
For me, it was more important to show that other side, because I think that's the side that we all relate to. We're all messy. We've all done things we're ashamed of. We've all said things we're ashamed of. I think that's what actually makes this monkey character something that is deeply human.
I look like a pop star to you.
Jono Davies voices and plays the motion capture chimp.
It's really freeing. I don't have to worry about what I look like. I just get to tell the story. So as a creative, it's a blessing because you just get to worry about how it feels when you're doing it rather than what it looks like.
The role allowed Davies to live out one of his dreams.
9-year-old me went to watch him in concert with my mum and dad, and then now here I am playing him performing in concert venues, 20,000 people in Australia, 3,000 people in Serbia, with a like-for-like stage that he had in Nebworth.
I want to prove I can make it on my own.
For Robbie, it was difficult at times to revisit his past.
For a split second, when I saw these scenes not stitched together, it's the greatest hits of my trauma and very triggering. But I had moments to make friends and make peace with it before it was all stitched together. And when it was all stitched together, I was absolutely mind blown.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Well, Better Man opens in theaters tomorrow. That's our time for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of twin panda cubs exploring their new play area at the Berlin Zoo. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.